All right, hello boys and girls, and welcome back to the library. I've collaborated with your classroom teacher to help out with your unit on nonfiction texts. Last week you got to read an awesome nonfiction graphic novel that talked about Hurricane Katrina. This week we're going to look at news articles, which are another type of nonfiction text. They serve a similar purpose as nonfiction books, except that they are obviously much shorter and they relay information faster and more efficiently. While books often provide a complete picture of a certain topic, news articles are produced on a daily basis. I'm assuming all of you have read and seen news articles on the internet, in newspapers, magazines, on your smartphones, on Facebook, off of Twitter. I want you guys to have the tools to read articles thoroughly or other pieces of nonfiction text with a critical eye. Today we're going to learn and understand how to make inferences from reading news articles, meaning it's determining what is important and what conclusions can be drawn from what the author or writer has provided us. It's also important to recognize that often as readers we determine or take away what is most important about an article, and our conclusions or our inferences might be different than what the author intended. From this activity that we're about to start today, I want you to understand that while your own opinions about information that you read or inferences or conclusions that you've drawn about a text do matter, it's also your responsibility to determine or figure out what is actually being said in articles and texts that you read so that you can be a responsible consumer of information. So now please take out your iPads and open the web browser on your iPad and go to the Time for Kids link that I have written on the board up here. Once you have it open, let's take about 10 minutes to read through it. Remember what you've learned about nonfiction and think about all of the elements on the page or the screen. So this includes the image, the caption of the image, the title, the author, the date published, and even the paragraph headings within the article. Okay, at this point, I'm going to pass out my inferences graphic organizer, which I've attached to this post. And then we'll wait about 10 minutes, let the kids read. Okay, so now that everyone has finished, what did you think? Do you think the author is asking readers to stop using devices? Why or why not? So this is the part where kids will raise their hand and I'll start writing some of the responses on the smartboard. Okay, so now take out the graphic organizer that I handed you while you were reading and let's fill it in together. Think of some of the most memorable pieces of information from the article and write them down in the top bubble of the graphic organizer. Once you're done with that, in the next bubble, fill in what you think the author is saying or inferring in your own words. So remember, paraphrase, so that means fill out the information and use what you got from the article, not what the author, don't copy exactly what the author said. And then the last and final bubble at the bottom of the page, fill in what you think the author's purpose, so from the author's perspective, what was their intention for writing the article? What was the main idea they were trying to get across? Okay, so we're going to wait a couple minutes and let the students fill out the graphic organizer. Now that the graphic organizer is filled in, would anyone like to share if they spotted any difference in meaning between your inferences, your takeaways from the article, and what the author's main ideas were? Were they the same or were they different? Raise your hand if they were different. And so at this point, I'm going to call on the students who feel like sharing if their main ideas or takeaways from the article were different, and then we'll have a small discussion, about the importance between their opinions, and the author's intention. Good. So we can infer from the article, and what we've just all determined as a group, is that while it's okay to use screens at night before we go to, the author claims that it's a best practice to put them away about a half hour before we go to sleep, so it's easier for us to fall asleep and we can get that deep sleep that we need to get through our day. While this piece of information may not be the same as the main point some of you took away from the article, that doesn't mean that what you got is any less important, but it is important to understand the difference between the author's intention and your own personal opinions. So does anyone have any questions about this? Okay, so we're going to pause for questions. Okay, so now I'd like for you all to exit out of the Time for Kids article on your iPads and locate and read an article from any of the magazines that I have laid out on the table here. Or you may go to timeforkids.com or scholasticnews.com. Once you've chosen and read your article, please fill out the second graphic organizer, which is the same as the first one that I handed out to you. And just fill it in like we just did with the first one. And if you finish before class is over, please share what you found with a partner and have a brief discussion. And if we'll have time, we'll have you guys share with the rest of the class. So let's pretend that the kids finish early and there's time for just a little bit more discussion. So can anyone tell me why it's important to not take information for face value, and why it's important to form your own opinions while also taking into consideration author's meaning? Some students raise their hands and they share. And then we'll have continued discussion. And the discussion will go, a couple minutes depending how much time is left. And then I'll have all the students hand me their graphic organizers, and I'll assess on how confident they seem in this skill by looking over the graphic organizers. And, if I feel like they still aren't grasping the information, I'll work with the teacher and perhaps do another lesson using online articles, social media, or maybe we'll revisit a graphic novel. All right, that's it for now. Thank you for watching.